This is KOTV, Channel 6 News at 10, with Clayton Vaughn, Jill Lyon, meteorologist Jim Giles, and Bill Teagan Sports.
Good evening. 2 Tulsa school bus drivers stand to lose their jobs, and 7 others have been suspended following an investigation of their criminal and their driving records. Those 2 drivers have felony convictions on their records, and Tulsa School Superintendent Larry Zinke says they will be fired for falsifying their job applications. The school system's action comes after Channel 6 News presented school officials with copies of the criminal records of Tulsa school bus drivers. Over the next few evenings, Joe Webb will present his findings in a series of stories detailing the busted system. Tonight, we look at those driving records.
Every school day, 12,000 Tulsa children ride the bus. The ride to school, their first contact with the school system. That system employs 231 drivers, and it's their job to get the children to and from school safely. To ensure that safety, Tulsa schools tried something new this year, drug testing. 14 drivers were fired because they flunked that test.
When you're a school bus driver, you have the lives of kids in your hand. And if your psychomotor skills are affected in any way, then the safety of the people you haul it, they are affected. Their lives are in danger.
Not only must bus drivers be clean of drugs, they have to meet certain other criteria as well.
First of all, you got to have good health, good eyesight. You must be able to obtain a chauffeur's license, and you must have a good, clean, safe driving record.
With that in mind, we decided to check the driving records of the men and women who have driven Tulsa school buses in 1986. Using lists provided by the school's transportation department, we found that many do not have clean driving records, several do not have chauffeur's licenses, and as of October 1st, 5 were driving on suspended licenses. Our check shows that this record belongs to a driver hired in the last 6 months. He's had 8 tickets in the last 5 years. He's on the list of current bus drivers, but the state suspended his license in July. This record belongs to a woman also on the list of current bus drivers. This June, she was hit with a bail bond suspension. Her license is currently suspended by the state, and they have it in their files. Of the 267 records checked, 62 school bus drivers had no traffic record. The remaining 205 were involved in a total of 207 collisions. Some have as many as 6 on their records. Tulsa's bus drivers tallied up 302 tickets. 3 have been written up for drinking and driving. According to the Department of Public Safety, 7 current bus drivers do not have the required chauffeur's license. Bobby Mays disputes this. He showed us photocopies of their licenses, but Tulsa's school system does not check directly with the Department of Public Safety. Mays says he simply does not have the time.
We're not running a detective agency out here, and that's what you seem to want us to do. You have that time. We don't have that luxury. You have to look for news. We don't have the time to look for it like you do. Okay. You offer picking units to me, and I'm sincere. It's like you at a witch hunt, and I don't like it.
But you do not have to be a detective to find out these things. We simply mailed a list of drivers to the Department of Public Safety. Within 3 days, we had all the driving records. The state charges $5 per record, $20 less than the drug tests. We shared our findings with School Superintendent Larry Zinke, and Zinke says if the screening system has flaws, he wants to fix it.
If in the process, however, we find that there is a breakdown in that system, we'll certainly want to do whatever we must do to correct that.
Tomorrow night, we turn our attention to the criminal records of Tulsa school bus drivers. You may be surprised to find that convicted felons have been driving children to school. Somehow, they made it through the system.
Because they used to hire those people, but there has been a change in philosophy under my administration.
Joe Webb, Channel 6 News.
Now, as Joe reported, tomorrow night we will be reporting on the criminal records of the 3 convicted felons who have driven Tulsa school buses this past year. These felons were not convicted of white-collar type crimes. They were convicted of crimes against people, violent crimes, but somehow each ended up behind the wheel of a school bus. We should remind parents that these drivers have been suspended or fired and are no longer taking children to school.
North Tulsa parents are confronting one of their worst fears tonight, the fear that their children may be hooked on drugs. The occasion is the second in a series of drug awareness seminars sponsored by the Northside Christian Center. Speakers include therapists and law enforcement agents. The very first thing parents are told is they must be aware and accept the fact that their child might have a problem.
Lost something somewhere, and we got to get it back. We black people have to get it back somewhere, be involved with our people, our kids.
Parents, what they need to do is, be in touch with their children, try to keep in contact with them, keep an eye on them, not be a hawk necessarily, but be a supervisor and be aware of what their children are doing.
Another seminar is planned for November 18th in the Gilcrease Hills area. The Republican and Democratic gubernatorial nominees confronted each other today more than once. It began in Oklahoma City and ended here in Tulsa. Rick Peterson has been following that story. Rick, the meeting between Henry Bellman and David Walters in Oklahoma City today was apparently one of the big surprises of the day.
Jill, it surprised everyone. David Walters was holding a news conference this morning at his own headquarters when Henry Bellman showed up. Walters then told Bellman personally that he thought Bellman had benefited from a series of sweetheart deals that had reduced Bellman's personal debt and enabled him to run for governor. Walters then called on Bellman to make a full disclosure of his finances.
Just as we've answered the questions throughout the process, and just as we have been attacked for our full disclosures, I think it's time for full disclosure on the part of my opponent.
Well, it seems what Mr. Walters has done is hit me with a fistful of feathers. There's nothing here that isn't in the public record, nothing that I have any desire to conceal, nothing that's in any way irregular.
The two candidates then traveled separately to Tulsa and made a joint appearance before the Oklahoma Nursing Home Association. This time, Walters took the opportunity to call for a debate.
Let's have a debate. Let's deal with the issues side by side and debate this. Certainly in front of forums like this, but also on statewide television.
David has been accusing me of hiding from time to time. Well, I'm not hiding here. I am. This is our 10th joint appearance together. We've got a couple more, and we're getting to enjoy each other's company very much, but I don't think either one of us will regret it when this is over.
Bellman said he couldn't debate because of ethical questions raised over a loan Walters used to help finance his campaign. So Walters released a large package of documents today showing some of Bellman's transactions. Over the last 18 months, Walters estimates that Bellman has reduced his debts by more than $900,000. Walters says Bellman did that by, quote, making a series of sweetheart deals with his wealthy friends. So now it's David Walters asking the question, who has the mortgage on the governor's office? Jill?
Thank you, Rick.
Well, Oklahoma's U.S. Senate race is shaping up to be the most expensive political campaign in Oklahoma history. New campaign spending reports indicate that the incumbent Republican, Don Nichols, and the Congressman, Democratic candidate, James Jones, together have spent more than $2 million, and that only on radio and television advertising. Presidential hopeful Pat Robertson today filed two $35 million libel suits against former Congressman Pete McCloskey and Congressman Andrew Jacobs of Indiana. The television evangelist says McCloskey and Jacobs made reckless statements about Robertson's role with the Marines during the Korean War. McCloskey wrote Jacobs last August saying Robertson claimed to have used Robertson's father's influence to get out of combat duty during the war. Robertson's father was a U.S. Senator from Virginia. Jacob showed the letter, to reporters when Robertson became serious about seeking the GOP presidential nomination.
An environmental group is trying to stop the Kerr-McGee Sequoia Fuels plant from reopening. Citizens Action for a Safe Environment, or CASE, filed an injunction request today in Muskogee Federal Court. Yesterday, employees began returning to the plant in preparation for a restart order from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. The company says it should be back in operation as early as November 1st. The plant was closed in January when an accident killed one worker and sent several others to the hospital. CASE argues that the plant is not safe, despite improved safety and training instituted by Kerr-McGee.
Still ahead on Channel 6 News tonight, the diplomatic battle continues between this country and the Soviet Union.
And a report on how small businesses are getting help from the big guys.
KOTV's Magnum Private Island contest starts October 22nd. Watch Magnum at 3. Answer the contest question during our magazine at 4, and you could be on your way to Hawaii.
A taco salad anytime is a treat. But now there's something even better, a salad bowl you can eat. Now there's Azteca, now you know better.
Introducing Azteca salad shells, the only salad shells fresh in the dairy case. Just shape them, bake them, and serve them right at home for a light, crisp, fresh, better taco salad. New Azteca salad shells.
Now there's Azteca, now you know better.
Now you know better.
What's it like having HBO this fall?
Gold!
And what's it like when you add Cinemax? It's a knockout fall on HBO, the best in movies, sports, and specials. At Cinemax, the best gets even better. Together, over 160 shows a month. HBO and Cinemax. You can never get too much of a good thing.
Put more punch in your programming. Call Tulsa Cable now at 665-0200.
Do you know me? I've seen more rings than most jewelers I know. That's why I never go anywhere without one of these, the Ken's Pizza Fill-It-Up Cup. You get a year's supply of soft drinks for one low price, and the savings can be a real knockout. The Ken's Pizza Fill-It-Up Cup. Don't leave home without it.
Ken's Pizza Super Saver Night, Tuesday and Wednesday after 5 p.m. Get a large pizza for the medium price. Now that's super savings.
Another apparent kidnapping in Beirut tops tonight's world news. An underground group calling itself the Revolutionary Justice Organization says it has kidnapped an American writer in Beirut. The group says the American, Edward Tracy, is actually a spy for the United States and for Israel. The U.S. Embassy says it cannot confirm that Tracy has been abducted. If Tracy has been kidnapped, that brings to 7 the number of Americans missing now in Beirut.
The U.S. has ordered a mass expulsion of Soviet diplomats, the latest volley in a diplomatic battle with Moscow. 55 Soviets have been ordered to leave the U.S. within 9 days, 5 of them in retaliation for Moscow's expulsion of 5 Americans. The Reagan administration says it hopes this won't hurt prospects for an arms agreement, but the Soviets said today it's just another attempt to worsen relations between the two countries. IBM is following the lead of General Motors by announcing it will sell its interests in South Africa. The computer giant said today it will sell its South African subsidiary to a new company created for the benefit of IBM employees. Like GM, IBM blames the sellout on worsening economic and political conditions in South Africa. However, IBM products will still be sold there.
After 16 days of negotiations, OPEC oil ministers meeting in Geneva say they have come to an agreement extending oil production controls through the end of the year. The agreement a compromise in that the total amount of oil produced by OPEC countries will go up by 200,000 barrels a day from the earlier production ceilings. Delegates say they hope that limiting production to about 17 million barrels of oil a day will raise the world oil price to about $18 a barrel. The price of oil may be going up, but the cost of an airline ticket, at least here, may be headed down. Continental Airlines is returning to Tulsa, and one-way tickets to the West Coast are priced as low as $69. Continental has taken over the assets of failed Frontier Airlines. Some of the Frontier equipment used in Tulsa will now be used by Continental. Service is to resume on the 1st of November with 5 daily flights to and from Continental's hub in Denver.
Tonight and tomorrow, Tulsa is serving as a regional hub for business incubators. They've been around for more than 20 years, but right now, incubators are a hot topic. They're designed to encourage and foster new ideas into new businesses that can provide new jobs and more dollars. Terry Hadley reports tonight on the concept that Oklahoma is welcoming with open arms.
This office opened 2 weeks ago. The Tulsa Innovation Center is part public, part private. The objective is to help new businesses find help, and more important, to find money, investors, especially for ideas that can make big bucks and provide lots of jobs.
Through shared services, the cash flow needs of the small business person are reduced. Through the management consulting, there's somebody there, a qualified someone, to help the entrepreneur when they have a problem before it's a disaster. And then they throw in a third element, the entrepreneurial atmosphere.
Morales is here for a regional conference on business incubators, the first of its kind in these parts. Part of that process involves government agencies working with instead of working against the private sector.
The public-private partnership is such an outstanding opportunity to make the federal dollar go further than it has in the past.
This crowd shows the incubator concept is catching on. While it's projected 80% of new businesses will fail in the next 5 years, it's been shown of those businesses placed in an incubator, 80% will survive. There are 172 business incubators around the country, 6 of them here in Oklahoma. Conference organizers say more are needed here. They hope the conference will result in some open pocketbooks to fund them. Terry Hadley, Channel 6 News.
It's been a couple of weeks since we've had any substantial rainfall. Up next, meteorologist Jim Giles will tell us if there's any precipitation moving our way.
I'm a volunteer docent at the zoo.
2.4% financing. The Dodge Boys meet the challenge. Effective immediately, they're offering low 2.4% financing or cashback on selected Dodge cars in stock. Get $2,400 or $1,500 cashback on Lancer ES, $2,400 or $750 cashback on Aries LE, $2,400 or $500 cashback on Daytona, and $2,400 or $400 cashback on 86 and 87 Dodge Chargers.
The lowest interest rates, the highest rebates in automotive history at East Tulsa Dodge, the driving force.
Nice pleasant evening in northeast Oklahoma, and with the weather outlook, here's Jim Giles. Jim?
Hi, thank you, Clayton. A little light rain out there, but the good news is good-looking weekend coming up after about 24 hours of on and off again showers. Should not be the heavy kind of stuff, though, that we saw earlier in the month. Here's our current radar picture. This is the Tulsa National Weather Service radar. We're seeing the leading edge of the shower activity now from southeastern Kansas to about the Nowata area, east of Tulsa, Eufaula, McAllister, and points to the west. Where you see the dark blue, that's moderate precipitation, so for the most part light and a little dab of moderate here and there. That action is moving to the east at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, so very slowly it's drifting off to the east. Let me show you some of the rainfall amounts now. The smaller numbers representing some of the rainfall amounts. There's less than 1/4 of an inch in the Ponca City area, but 0.68 inches in Enid. A little more than an inch of rain, about 1 1/3 inches up in the Woodward area. But look, some pretty heavy showers down to the south. Hobart, 1.5 inches, and out in the Altus area, 2.7 inches of rain. Looks like in the coming 24 hours, the heavier rain will be to the south, anywhere from 1/2 to maybe 1.5 inches over much of the remainder of the state. Fairly reasonable as this system works on through. We're at 63 on the hour, a cooler 54 in Oklahoma City. They've had rain off and on throughout much of the day. Here's our current situation and our record book. Notice 71 for a high. 49 degrees this morning, 63 our early morning 4-inch soil temperature. Cedar count 83 and ragweed stands at 12. Currently at the airport with cloudy skies and a little light rain in the area, 63 degrees, 52 the dew point, 67% saturation, southeasterly wind at 6. And a falling barometer. Spotter highs around the region. This is about as good as it's going to be for a while. We were at 71 degrees down around the Eufaula area at 76 degrees. Stan Kelly over around Tahlequah, one of the higher amounts, 77 degrees during the afternoon. So pretty warm over around Tahlequah. Here's our satellite view. 10 o'clock last night. Watch the storm to the west move our way as well as the moisture to the south kind of move up towards the Red River. Now we can see very clearly the circulation of the upper level storm over Colorado as the surface feature moves out through Oklahoma. There's where we can find the heavier rainfall. That should be to the east of us by tomorrow night. We should start seeing improving weather. It's Hurricane Rosalind, now tropical storm, putting that tropical moisture up over Texas. That's why we'll find our heaviest rains over the south. That storm out to the west should finally clear the area by tomorrow night. This is the way I see tomorrow evening. Still some showers or thunderstorms in the area, but going on into Thursday, much improved weather, carrying it right on into the weekend. Here's our forecast now for this overnight period. Cloudy, patchy fog, scattered showers and thunderstorms. You can count on that. 54 degrees for tomorrow morning. Probably a raincoat needed. Temperatures in the mid-50s, a shower or two here and there. Some fog as well. Sun up 7:37. Tomorrow afternoon, mostly cloudy, scattered showers and thunderstorms around. Southerly breezes only 65 for a high, but the outlook shows some improved weather. Look at Thursday. Maybe some sprinkles early, but partly cloudy skies for the afternoon, 65 degrees. Friday, back in control here, partly cloudy and 68. And come Saturday, that's looking better. Fair skies and 69. Looks like a nice fall weekend coming up. A little dab of rain, though, in the meantime.
Very nice news. Yes, it is. It's pretty good, as a matter of fact. We could do 2 in a row.
You bet.
Thank you, Jim. We'll have more in just a moment.
It's midterm time in sports. Still ahead, a progress report on the area college football teams.
tasty.
Listen now for details. Win the car of your dreams. Classic rock and roll Z104.
Well, poor Bill here is not in a good mood because Boston went home to Fenway, right? 2 games ahead. They're falling apart.
Yeah, they kind of crashed and burned tonight, but there's always tomorrow night.
Okay.
Game 3 of the series in Boston. Red Sox went into the game with a 2-0 lead over the Mets, but the Sox found out tonight that home isn't always sweet because the Mets scored 4 times in the first inning tonight. Lenny Dykstra led off the game with a homer, and it was 4-0 after 1. Red Sox came back with 1 run later in the ball game, but the Mets have scored again. It is now 7-1 going into the 9th inning. The Mets on top. Game number 4 tomorrow night in Boston. And it is awards time in baseball. Today, the sporting news. Baseball's Bible named Don Mattingly of the Yankees and Mike Schmidt of the Phillies as Players of the Year. These awards are voted on by the players, so they carry a little more weight than other awards. We've been talking a lot this week about Mike Ditka and the Chicago Bears, but this guy gets bent out of shape so often it's fun to hear him rant and rave. He had some strong words today for his quarterback, Jim McMahon, regarding the signing of another quarterback, Doug Flutie.
He said he wasn't ready to play, and you know, I got to take him at his word. He said he wasn't ready to play.
But then he makes a comment, hey, the Bears have given up on me. I mean...
Well, I think it's a little self-pity. You know, he made a comment earlier in the week that we did the wrong thing by trying to get Flutie, too. I think that's self-pity. And, you know, I told him I don't want to fight the battle in the media. I'd like to fight it in the office. If he wants to come in and talk to me personally, fine. But I just think you got to strap it up like a man and go. I mean, he doesn't run the ball club, and as long as I'm here, he won't run the ball club.
Get a feeling you don't get a lot of sympathy from Mr. Ditka. For the last 2 years, we've heard Oklahoma coach Barry Switzer say that backup Eric Mitchell is the best athlete on the Sooner team. Well, he also said today he might have to get Mitchell into the game more often, and Mitchell may be moving to running back or split end. Now, if that happens, it probably won't take place until next year. That's Eric #1 right there, when the Sooners will lose several running backs to graduation. Mitchell says he really wouldn't mind moving, but hasn't thought too much about it. With Jamel Holloway, though, the starter at quarterback, and he's only a sophomore, Mitchell says he'll probably be willing to try to play someplace else. All of the Big Four have reached or passed the halfway points of their football seasons now, so it's just about time to give out some midterm grades. Here's Professor Bob Stevens with his views on how they've done.
Private schools having minds of their own, TU passed its midterms a couple of weeks ago. The Hurricane is like that kid who loves to take the big tests like OSU and Houston, but really hates those pop quizzes, ergo Louisiana Tech. So give TU a B for now, but remember, the final exam is against Vinny Testaverde, who plays from a different book. Arkansas gets a high B. After all, they are ranked in the top 15 and they just beat Texas. But no A for the Hogs now because they flunked that easy test against Texas Tech at home. Still, Arkansas has a chance for an A if they go to the Cotton Bowl. Oklahoma State is that kid you really feel for. You remember the kid in school who was a real slow learner and was just about to flunk out more than once, but slowly and surely is now coming back and might even end up with better than a passing grade?
Well, yeah, I think we can be 8-4. We got a chance to be 8-4 and be in a bowl, go 7-4, get in a bowl, and be 8 and have the same record we had last year. I think we're good enough to do that. We'll have to play good.
Finally, there are those Sooners. Now, you remember the kid in school who was so good he was bored most of the time, so he spent all his time talking too much? Well, OU's kind of like that. High achievers who would get an A in any other class, but they only grade themselves. And Vinny gave them a good spanking a few weeks back. So an A- for now and some thoughts for the future.
Our personnel is all right. Depth is all right. And we're just going to have to take it into consideration that we've got something to do. It's the Big 8, and if we want to go back to West Bowl and have a shot at Miami, we're going to have to take each game one game at a time.
If the Sooners do that, they'll get an after-school trip down here.
Here are more special reports coming up on KOTV Channel 6 News. Next Tuesday at 10, Dana Sterling visits the class of '67, then and now. On Tuesday, November 4th, Miles Saunders uncovers a forgotten chapter of state history, Hitler's Army in Oklahoma. Starting November 11th on Channel 6 News, Robert Joffe lets you be the reporter. 4 news stories, 4 moral dilemmas, and your phone call decides how each should be reported. Compelling special reports in the weeks ahead on Channel 6 News.
Now here's Jim and a look at that weather again for the morning.
You bet. We do have some rain in our forecast. Let's look at radar. We can see a little light rain in the area now, probably for about the next 24 hours. Have your raincoat handy tomorrow morning. By the way, for Saturday, I can just about guarantee a nice Tulsa run coming up weather-wise.
That would be nice. Thank you very much. Glad you added that weather-wise, because we don't know otherwise, as a matter of fact. The run is coming up Saturday morning, of course, and this year some things have changed to make the run a lot smoother. One of the most difficult parts of the course is caused by that mob of people right at the start. Tonight, Robert Jaffe and race director Kim Elliott take a look at what you can expect at race time.
Here we are at the corner of 3rd and Boston, which is where the big race begins. Now, last year, people were complaining that there were so many people here, it took too long to get up the pace. We're talking over 6,000 runners this year expected.
Yeah, that's been a problem in the past, and this year we hope to overcome that by positioning people down a couple blocks at 3rd and Cincinnati, get them ready there, and then move them up about 3 minutes before the start at 9 o'clock, so we have an accordion effect going. People are actually moving when they hit the start line.
Okay. Now, when they show up, there'll be certain plaques they need to look for that reflect their race time?
Exactly. We'll have people saying on a plaque, here's a 10-minute pace, line up behind me, or 7-minute pace, whatever. So you figure out what your race pace is, line up behind that plaque, and we'll marshal it. We've got numbers issued this year that are based upon your run time from last year, and so if we find someone's in where they shouldn't be, we'll put them back. That makes it safer and easier for everybody.
Okay, so you should know your race time then before you get there, how fast you run a mile.
Exactly.
Okay.
Figure it out. You bet.
Okay, now this is the start place for all 3 races?
Yes, the wheelchair race will go off about 10 minutes to 9, exactly at 9 o'clock, the 15K, and 10 minutes afterwards we'll do the fun run.
Okay, Kim, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We're getting set for the Tulsa Run. I'm Robert Jaffe, Channel 6 News.
Runners are also advised to pick up their race packets by Thursday morning at the Tulsa Run office to avoid the long lines on Friday.
The mob to get up to the starting gate just to get your stuff, let alone the mob at this. That is going to be one big operation Saturday morning.
Yeah, but all you have to do is, as Mr. Elliott said, is just figure out how long it takes you to run and then find your spot. So I'm going to look for the little card that says 3 days.
Yes.
And I'll fit right in.
That
Our
should
time's
work.
gone. Thank you very much for yours. It is Tuesday, October the 21st. Good night.
Clothing for Channel 6 News provided by Harold's.